Okay, so welcome to 4.2. This is graphing by plotting points and finding intercepts. So take a second and pause this and just write down these two equations. And this should be looking a little bit familiar to what you just watched in the other video. So the first thing that we're going to be doing is filling out this table. So hopefully you guys have paused it, written it down. So let's get going. So we are just going to plug in what we're given into these particular equations that we're given. So over here, if we plug in 0 for x, that means we have negative 2y equals 3. We just have to divide by negative 2. So we have 3 over negative 2, but again, I always like to throw that negative in on the numerator. That way it does not get lost for me. Over here, I have a 2 in my y column, so I'm going to plug in 2 for y. So I have negative 2 times 2 is negative 4, which means we're going to have to add that 4 over to give me 7 over here. And again, if you don't quite understand what I'm doing, just pause it, do it on your own, just like we did in the last video, and then just take it from there. And then this one we have 5 over here, so we have 5 minus 2y equals 3, so I'm going to have to subtract the 5, so I have negative 2y equals negative 2. Once I divide by negative 2, I'm going to get positive 1. Then we jump over here real fast before we start graphing these guys. So I have negative 2 in for x, so 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. Add the 4 over here, and I'm just going to get 1. I don't have to divide by anything because there's no coefficient in front of the y. When I plug in negative 3, 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. So I'm going to add 6 over here, and I get positive 3. Okay, but now this 5 is in my y spot. So I'm just going to have 5 over here. So the first thing, so 2x plus 5 equals negative 3. I have to subtract that 5 over, so I get 2x equals negative 8. And then I do have to divide by 2, which is going to give me negative 4. So again, if that was just too much for you, pause it and actually plug them in. But now what's going to be a little bit different is now we do have to actually graph these guys. So I'm just going to draw an ordered coordinate plane. Make sure if you do not have graph paper, you should be investing in graph paper. And then all we're going to do really is just plot these points. So I don't quite know how to graph a line in standard form yet, so I'm just going to plot the points that I have. So 1, negative 1, always go right or left first, then up or down. So 1 to the right, negative 1 means I go down. So that's my first point over here. Then I have 3, 0 to the right 3, and then I'm going up or down nothing. So it's going to be right on the x-axis. 0, so I'm going nowhere over here, but then I'm going down negative 3 over 2. So that's about negative 1.5. So I'm just going to be down here. And then 7, 2, got to go to the right 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then up 2. And then to the right 5 and up 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up 1. And hopefully what you should see is that this is a straight line. I'm going to get my straight edge over here. And we have a straight line. So anything with just an x and a y in there with no exponents, none of that, is going to be a straight line. And the other thing to point out over here, this straight line is increasing from left to right. So if I did put it into slope-intercept form, I know I would have a positive slope over here. Let's see what this other one is going to look like. So I'm going to draw another coordinate plane. I'm going to go down probably pretty steep because I do have a negative 9 in there, but that's okay. So I have 3, 1, 2, 3 down, negative 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I'm all the way down here. It's okay if you can't see it. You can take my word for it. A little bit more. Okay. So it's at the very bottom over there. And then I have 0, negative 3. So I'm going left and right, nothing. And I'm down 3. Negative 2, negative 1, going to the left 2 and up 1. Negative 3, positive 3, to the left 3 and up 3. And then negative 4, 5. So negative 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, we should see, if my camera likes to be clear, that we do have a straight line. So any equation that you have in standard form like that can be written in slope-intercept form, but that doesn't necessarily mean you need to write it in slope-intercept form in order to graph it. But if you did write it into slope-intercept form, since this line is decreasing from left to right, the slope in slope-intercept form would be a -1. So that's always something just to look out for when we do get to that form. But the next thing that I really want to talk about is this thing is called graphing by plotting points and finding intercepts. So we graphed by plotting points, but how do you graph by finding intercepts? And the first thing that we need to do is to just define what intercepts are. So hopefully, just by looking at this graph, hopefully you know that the x-intercept is where the line crosses the x-axis. So x-intercept is where the line crosses x-axis. And hopefully that just makes sense. So the other thing that I really want you guys to get used to, because for some reason intercepts always elude you guys, like you just never remember what they are. If an intercept has to cross an axis, that means that in your point, one of your, in your ordered pair, one of the numbers has to be a 0. So if I come up over here, 3, 0, that's my x-intercept. And notice how the number is in the x spot. I want a value for x, which means the y is going to be 0. So for your x-intercepts, you are always going to have some sort of number in your x spot when your y is 0. If you are actually trying to solve for that, if I just say solve for your x-intercept, all you have to do is plug in 0 for y. And solve for x. It's your x-intercept. That means you want to solve for x. Now, similarly, your y-intercept is going to be where your graph crosses the y-axis. So this is your y-intercept right here. It's pretty much the exact same thing that we wrote down for x-intercept, except for everything's just going to change to y's now. So your y-intercept is where the line crosses the y-axis. Okay, and it's going to also have a 0 in it, but now your number should be on the y part of it. So if we go all the way back up here again, this guy is my y-intercept. So notice how everything's just backwards. Now my value is in the y spot when my x is 0. So your x-intercept has a number in the x spot. Your y-intercept is going to have a number in your y spot. And then the other one is 0. And then again, still same exact method to solve. Plug in 0 for x this time and solve for y. Okay, I'm going to stop this video right here, and then the next video will be actually graphing by intercepts in both standard form and slope intercept form.